Louder? How about this? I don't like those anyways. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming out this evening on this semi-rainy, cool evening in Arizona. I keep telling people I hope we get enough rain that makes a difference on the meter. Hasn't happened so far, but we can keep doing our rain dances. Thank you all for coming out this evening. We have a lot of great information for you. Included in attached to your agenda is the information that you can take home with you, and that you'll probably come up with questions later on. But we're here to answer questions. We have two speakers with us tonight. We have Board President Amy Miller. She's going to be talking about parking enforcement on public roadways. We have Marcy Renaud, Vice President. She's going to be talking about the electronic voting. Marcy is also the chair of the IT committee. So that's why she gets to do this fun stuff tonight. So if you'll welcome Amy and Marcy.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for coming out. I'm here to talk about an issue that has the potential to really affect the way our Westbrook look goes forward in the future. And I believe it's very important. It's an issue that is resulting from a legislative change. So I'm going to be going off script and talking to you some about it when I give the HOA perspective, but I also will be reading some to make sure I get the legalese correct. So first off, we're talking about parking enforcement on public roadways, and it's due to an Arizona state legislative change. In 2023, Governor Hobbs signed HB 2298 into law. This law, Arizona Revised Statute 33-1818B, will remove HOA authority to regulate parking on public roadways unless an HOA votes on the matter prior to June 30th, 2025. Westbrook Village Association will be including this issue on the upcoming ballot that will be mailed to you in February. I'm short enough. You should be able to hear me. Okay, this legislative change impacts public roads only. All other parking rules, restrictions will remain intact. The HOA will continue to enforce all other provisions as required by our CC&Rs. Please note that any sub-associations within Westbrook Village are encouraged to contact their community management company and/or their attorney for clarification on what steps are necessary for them in their community to take. What does this new legislation mean to the homeowners of Westbrook Village? This law will remove the HOA's authority to administer parking on public streets in our community and place it in the hands of the city of Peoria. In other words, parking overnight will be permitted. And I don't know if you've gone up into some other subdivisions that are just north of us and a little south of Deer Valley. I have several friends that live in those areas, and parking on the streets is like parking in a parallel universe. It is very congested and not visually attractive at all, what they do to their streets every evening. This law will remove the HOA's authority to administer parking on public streets in our community and place it in the hands of the city of Peoria. I already said that, sorry. However, our HOA may continue to enforce its parking rules if a quorum is present at the meeting of WVA homeowners in person or by absentee ballot. That's the ballot that you usually reply to every spring where we vote for board of directors and whatnot. That is the ballot where this issue will appear. A majority of votes need to be cast in favor of the association continuing to regulate public speech. The language on the issue will appear on the ballot as follows. That's one example of the ballot. It says, I vote for the association to retain its authority under the declaration to regulate public roadways within the association. So I hope I'm making myself very clear. The HOA perspective is that we do want to retain this authority because we don't want overnight parking on our streets. I have an example. My late husband and I used to go up and get a ice cream cone at the Dairy Queen, and that parking lot seemed to be a dumping ground for cars that might have been stolen and abandoned. And over the months I noticed that there were 3 cars up there. So I called the city and I got to talk to a tape recorder, not a live person, and I complained that these cars, it looked like some people might have been living in them, but they didn't belong where they were parked. It took the city over a month to address that issue. And I am concerned that we could be facing that kind of timeline if the city does take over our parking enforcement. So, just prior to our annual meeting in March, there'll be a special meeting, and this is all the legal end of how we need to conduct this particular vote and meeting. So it'll be a special meeting in person for those who have not already cast their ballots electronically. During the special meeting, all ballots on the issue will be tallied and the results will be announced. The annual meeting will begin immediately after those results are announced. What are the advantages of HOA parking control? It's for the safety of our residents when walking, cycling, and driving. I asked the staff to go around and please take pictures of some of these associations that have on-street parking. And you can see that it does look dangerous that people could step out from their cars or a dog could run out and get hit and whatnot, and it looks quite congested. Ease of getting into and out of the community due to open roadways. Easier to turn in and out of your driveway. Faster and easier access by first responders like ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, etc. when the streets are unobstructed by parked cars. And there's also an aesthetic element to open streets uncluttered by vehicles. I think that really would speak to our home values. I can't help but think that it remains in our best interest to maintain this parking authority so that we don't get this clutter, and it will keep our streets looking prettier. You know, people driving down our roadways will not have to be looking out for parked cars. They can look at our beautiful homes and our sprawling golf courses and whatnot. It enhances the curb appeal and it maintains community and property values. To summarize, homeowners have the power to retain the HOA's authority over parking regulations in our community. Important to note that if the measure fails, we cannot re-vote on this at a later date. This is the time now. According to the law that was passed, we have to let the state know by the end of June by the end of June, we have to record that with the county, or the Secretary of State, I think it is, what our intent is on this issue. So we can never go back and fix it if we let it fail. The city of Peoria will be in charge on street parking forevermore then. What should you do? Please familiarize yourself with proposed changes and formulate your opinion on this matter. I hope you already have that opinion and you've listened to what I say. The HOA's current parking policies are accessible via the website at www.westbrookvillage.org. Homeowners are also encouraged to attend monthly HOA meetings to discuss this and other matters impacting our community. And so I hope that everybody understands it's the HOA's perspective and hope that you vote yes, that we retain that authority to control parking within our village. Are there any questions? We're going to bring mics to everyone. And when you, please tell us your name and the subdivision you live in.
Douglas Peterson, Willow Ridge. I've been told that you are not allowed to park on the Western Village Parkway in front of the Lakes Recreation Center, even though the Peoria Police Department has said that is a public road and anybody can park there, temporarily, not overnight.
Well, we kind of have conflicting information on that because the second Sunday people were parking there and there was a parking traffic enforcement officer that came and cleared everybody off of that one Sunday morning. So I would have to look into that further.
Even though there is no parking signs. There is no parking signs on that site, right there.
I'm gonna investigate that.
So that is not, in fact, valid.
Well,
Is that valid, that they said you can't park there?
I do not know.
The HOA has said, the HOA office has said you cannot park there.
That's correct.
That's what the police.
But they have no, the Peoria Police Department has said that is a public road and you can park there.
The confusion on that, sir, is that is a vehicle lane. Golf carts are licensed
I don't see that
vehicles.
anywhere. I don't see golf cart.
The
lanes
shared
anywhere.
lane is for the golf carts. That's why they
I
came
don't
out
see
and
that.
cited everybody. But we will get a written from the commander, and if we'll get your name and number, we'll share that with you.
Here's my business card. If you want to talk about that further.
Give me a buzz and I will keep in touch with you on that.
We've been told no.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay.
I have the same question. I was concerned about whoever the parking guy was that took everybody out that day.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted clarification on that. I have that now. Thank you.
I know your name and number. I will really investigate this. So,
Okay, I'm in the Cypress Point development.
yes.
I'm all in favor of the restrictions on the parking. My only question is, out of curiosity, because we don't park in the street, is what are the hours when it's no parking? You know, for overnight parking?
Yeah. I don't know that we have formalized that. It's more, we want to allow that if you have a visitor over for dinner, that person's not going to cause you to get a citation. But,
Our standards just say overnight parking.
right.
It's just clarified as overnight. There's no hours that are specific. So in your handout, you'll see the Westbrook Village Standard, and it just talks about overnight.
As I said, I
Yeah.
was just curious.
No specific hours.
Okay.
Anything else?
Patrick Boonders, Village Terrace 1.
Yes.
Maybe I'll turn that question around the other way. What is the bylaw going to say from the city as to overnight hours? Is it like 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.? I think that's the more pertinent question than the one that is asked, because we need to know what we'd be saying no to.
We wouldn't be saying no, it would be the city. The city would be going around issuing citations.
No,
But I don't think they, I'm gonna be real honest here, Patrick. I don't think they, this parking enforcement is one of their big priorities, you know.
well, it is for us. We have a deadline to make a decision.
So let me clarify. The city of Peoria does not have an ordinance that prevents overnight parking. So the answer to your question is, there is no ordinance for regular overnight parking. They have RV parking, they have commercial vehicle parking, but they do not have an ordinance for overnight parking. Okay? So again, if you get a code compliance violation, code does not handle this. This is a police department ticket issuing, but they would not issue a ticket for a car that's parked overnight. If it's abandoned, if it's
If you're camping,
inoperable,
if you're camping on
then
the
they would
curb,
consider ticketing.
no.
And that's from the City of Peoria Police Department directly.
In the end, the preference from the HOA is to keep the streets clear overnight.
Yes, sir. I say that emphatically.
My name's Joe Bernier, Lakeview Estates. I do want to reference, I have a job that allows me to travel this nation. And in a lot of communities, this is a huge problem. And what happens is you have outsiders that will come in, literally squat, and they get around the law by simply moving the vehicle maybe 1, 2, 3 houses forward for the next night, 1, 2, 3 houses forward for the other night, just to circumnavigate the ordinances that the city has. So this is not something that's strictly about us and our guests. It's about possibly opening up our streets to everybody that wishes to park there. So keep that in mind as well. Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else?
Amy, who's next? Just a quick question. I'm kind of confused about where you said there's going to be a special meeting.
It's right before the annual meeting. What's the date of the annual meeting, Karen?
March 26th, Wednesday, March 26th.
Wednesday, March 26th at 6 p.m. Normally the annual meeting would start, but our attorney has advised us that we have to separate this meeting from the annual meeting to make sure that our intent in all this is very clear. And so we are having a meeting right before when the annual meeting would start. So it starts at about the meeting for the vote, if you have not yet cast your vote on this issue, and to announce the tally. That starts at 6. I anticipate the meeting to be over by about 6:15. And then the annual meeting starts.
So it's just previous to the annual meeting. It's not a different date.
That is correct. Thank you.
Sherry with the Shadow Ridge.
Mhm.
I just have I agree with you. I agree with you, Amy. My question is on the voting itself.
Yes.
Right up to my mouth. Okay. Is it a simple majority? Because I know in the past, some issues, if they didn't vote, it was a no vote. But
This is majority rules.
perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We have to establish the quorum, and then the majority of that. And the quorum in this community is 1173. So we would have to have half of that 1173. And if somebody wants to help with that math, I can't do it here right now. So I don't know what it will take to pass, but it's only half. Okay. Tom.
Hi, Tom Canepa, Cypress Point Estates. Karen, I know you have a lot of involvement with other HOAs through committee work, etc. Was there ever any attempt by that larger group to impact the legislation so that the governor and legislature understood what the impact of this would be to HOAs? And second question is, what are you finding among your colleagues as far as the sentiment as far as this, not only the law, but the voting by those associations as far as the law is concerned?
So the CAI LAC Committee, which is Legislative Action Committee, did work on this. Their ages of the communities were a big point, and there's a deadline where our documents were prior to that deadline. Many communities that don't have the authority to keep their current standards are frustrated about this ARS because they thought it should have been more fair across the board.
This was the one time our old documents helped us.
Right. So Tom, that was more of the discussion, but anybody that is in our scenario is encouraging to keep the authority to enforce your current documents. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm Diane Wood from Eagle Ridge. I follow next door, probably a lot of you do. I go primarily to see what's going on in the communities around us, what kind of crime, what kind of vandalism is going on there. And one of the things I think we all see a lot of is cars that are parked outside. There are opportunists who are looking for that every night, all night long. And I think if we can reduce that risk here in the village, we would all be better off for it.
Thank you, Diane, that's a very salient point. Thank you.
I'm Dave Billette, I live in Oakmont Heights. Just a couple questions.
Yes.
Back in '23, when this rule we have was amended, could you tell us what changed prior to '23 that now is in effect?
Marcy, do you know about that? He's talking about the architectural standard amendment of 2023. I think it was just the RV parking maybe?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was.
It
Amy
was.
Amy was chair at that time.
It was
yeah, it
just
was.
about the parking of RV
To follow
units.
the
Okay,
city.
all right.
Mhm.
And then, I guess-
We wanted to comply with what the city had at that point. We were not.
Okay. And then I guess my question then goes back to the slides you showed were daytime shots of most of communities wherever those photos were taken. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about overnight parking, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So in the event of overnight parking, how do we enforce that? Do we have to now hire someone who drives around and takes photos of cars parked overnight? What happens there? How does that?
We would continue on as we do. We do not have a parking enforcement officer. We do have eyes and ears, the posse sometimes when there's somebody that chronically parks overnight, they will report that to us, or else, quite frankly, friends and neighbors might also report some of the infractions to us. They come into the office and there's a form to fill out. If there's cases where sometimes there's enough cars on the street that it blocks your driveway and you're not able to pull back. So we collect that data via complaint form, and then we go out and enforce.
So there's really no intent then to hire a parking enforcement officer?
We don't have that in the budget.
Well, that's good to know, because most of us don't have that in our budget either. And then, yeah, well.
Thank you.
And there was something else I was going to ask you, but I just lost it.
We'll come back to you.
Yeah, well, sit down and think about it.
Hello, my name is Joanna Sackler and I live in Torrey Pines.
Closer, please.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, my question is in relation to what he said about cars, but I'm questioning the RVs. About 2 weeks ago, there was a large RV that he would park on one side of the street, then he'd come back and park on the other side of the street, then he'd come back and park on another side of the street, but he always went to the same house when he parked it.
In that event, I really do encourage you to come into the office, talk to the compliance people, and they probably will go out and speak with that homeowner.
Can I just call on the phone?
You betcha.
Okay.
Actually, Amy, we have to have a written complaint, written notice of that, so email or the form.
Okay.
It has to be written per the Arizona statute.
Email or Joanne.
Yeah, just email Jody or compliance, and what we do is go out, take a picture of it, come back 24 hours, take another picture of it, but you're right. Let's be honest here, people know the laws and they're trying to get around them. But with your help, we've always been able to address these issues.
Okay, what about when the posse drive around? They have to see that same, I mean, he goes this way, this way, this way, that way.
Posse are great eyes and ears, they help us a lot with that. But remember, this is not just overnight parking. This is about enforcing on public roadways, which includes overnight parking and RV parking. Denise up front.
Hi, Judy Hartford, Quail Ridge. We have one shot at this, and it's going to be forever gone. Is there something more we can do? This is informative, and this is brilliant to meet and talk. But there aren't enough people here to really understand that we lose this one time, and it's all gone, and so is the look of Westbrook Village. Is there something more we can do?
Yeah, make sure you get out and talk to your neighbors, but thank you for that exclamation point, I appreciate that. But talk to your neighbors. The video of this meeting will be online on our website, and there will be e-blasts and that come out, and also there's information that will appear in the magazine. So
I'm also attending the February 4th sub-association meeting, so we're encouraging the sub-associations to share it with their sub-associations at their upcoming meetings as well. So we're open to any additional suggestions.
Hello? Right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Am I-
You're up. I'm up.
Yes, in the event that, let's say we have family coming out of town, there's several vehicles coming, can we go to the office and put in a special request for, say, the 3 or 4 days they might be there?
that would be much appreciated. I
I mean,
don't
would
think
you-
anybody intends to block your ability to visit with your family in that manner. That would be appreciated.
So you would make an exception to that, is what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just wanted to follow up on the comment about not perhaps enough percentage of our village owners being here. I think it's really imperative that they understand when they see the ballot what really this means. And I know certainly Karen and her staff do a great job of trying to get it out. I think it has to be a blitz, or whatever Karen thinks would be effective. But I mean, it has to go on and on for them to pay attention. I know a lot of my friends that aren't here. I'll be talking to them. And so will some other people that I know that are here. But you have to really blitz this, or it'll be one of those deals where they see it, they don't know, and most people tend, no offense here, but most people tend to go no, because they don't really know. They figure that's safe.
Right.
And it's not. That's safe. So
Yes.
blitz, whatever.
I will ask that it be discussed at every one of the HO meetings between now and
the annual meeting. And Amy, I totally support that. All I'm saying is, most people don't attend. So the average person, I'm a golfer, and a walker, and a pet freak. Okay, I don't have one, but I pet them. And so all I'm saying is, you have to get to those of us that looked around and knew this meeting was going on, and there's other stuff going on. It just,
Maybe
the guru
I can
is
get
over here.
some of us to go to your clubs and have a
That's
discussion.
the way. And don't
So
forget.
I will attend some club meetings too.
And use us as volunteers.
Okay.
There's a number of
I have
people
your
in this
number,
room.
Kathy. I'm
Okay.
calling. Bruce.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Bruce Garrison. I'm from Shadow Ridge. Now, what I heard was you have to blitz. Folks, we're here. We have to blitz. Each one of you, if you were to reach out to 5 of your neighbors, we've got it covered. Do you agree?
Agreed.
Are there anybody here that really oppose this? Because I haven't heard a lot of feedback in that instance. So please, be active in our community. Go out and reach your neighbors, your friends, whoever, and we'll do this easily. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin Nielsen, Ironwood Estates. Is it possible that we could capture or that we could get some of those photos you have of the street, street parking? I think that's very powerful. The other question, so.
I did too. That's why I made somebody go do that today.
Are
That's
those-
why they're not in the dark.
Can we get
I'll have those on the e-blast.
Okay, good. Then the other thing is, I think I heard June is the deadline for us to inform the city of our.
It's the state.
Of the state?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So March is not necessarily the end of the voting if we don't get a quorum. by
Well,
then?
we are putting it on our ballot, for our annual ballot to vote for directors and the prior annual meeting minutes. So it will be March 26th.
If we haven't reached a quorum for that, because there'll be two separate ballots in that packet, right?
Well, if you're
Two
electronic
separate
voting,
questions.
it's all together with the new e-voting, and Marcy's gonna explain all that.
But to guarantee people vote that aspect of it, we could potentially push that date back.
Well, we won't have a board election if we don't make quorum.
Yeah.
I understand that, but there are people that might vote for the board and not vote this issue. So if we don't reach a quorum of this issue, we don't necessarily, we might be able to go push it April, May, and make our decision known then.
I don't know, once we announce the deadline, I'd have to confer with the attorney on the vote and whatnot. I don't know the answer.
How would
to
you
that.
feel about making that vote a requirement before you can move on to the annual meeting?
That is, it's
Marcy?
at the top of the ballot as we're laying out the ballot. That
On the
goes-
electronic voting, we could make that a required field before they could move on to the rest. That would help with that, I think.
It would help with the quorum, and if everybody feels the way people here seem to feel, that would be enough for us. I just want to know, because some of these issues, especially when you need more than a quorum, when you need more than half, and you need 3/4, you have to push people and push people and push people. I hate to lose this
And
because
I
people
think
can
that's
vote.
why we've got 60 days to really make this push, get the voice out, clubs, sub-associations, it'll be in the magazine, everything that we're talking about. And all of this information will be published as well.
And some of us probably will be knocking on our neighbors' doors. A bunch of my neighbors are here though, so I might be. Thank you.
Hi, this is Laura Blavel. I live in Eagle Ridge. I have two questions. One is, I'm all for this, so I want it to pass. I want this to be part of our community and that sort of thing. But one of my questions is, I don't believe, and I'm questioning whether or not you can make it a requirement. It is your privilege to vote, it is not your requirement to vote. So I would say, please look into that, because I would want to make sure that we don't do anything at all to jeopardize this from passing, because if we make it a requirement and it goes against what is a regulation or so on.
I don't know
I'm
if
just
that conforms with our documents, I would have to look into it.
Yeah, I'm just questioning it because I don't want this to not pass. And then my other question is, and I don't know whether this is right for it to be done at the same time, and to have this as 2 points of voting within the same, say, email or something like that, because it's a separate issue. I don't know whether I'm articulating this correctly, but I'm concerned about that type of thing. If we could send along something like our pamphlet that we have here, along with the voting, that would be awesome, but I also don't know whether or not that would be crossing the line. So it's just things to look into. Again, I'm all for this, I want it to pass, I just don't want us to set ourselves up for failure for just one small thing.
Right. Okay, thank
And
you.
I want to comment on your first comment. I just threw that out there as a requirement, but somebody said earlier, if you don't know, which way are you going to vote? You're going to vote no. So I really like that comment that we need to look into that we don't want to force a no vote.
And Karen, I know that like on the ballot in the election for director's part, the bios are going to appear. Can we put some material on the same ballot?
Absolutely. The
So
PDF
there
is
will
already
be some
created.
information that's
So-
visible on
And
the
Marcy will go into that. The electronic ballot will have 3 attached PDFs, the board candidates and their bios, the parking, and the annual meeting minutes. So all of that will be inclusive.
Okay. Anything else?
It's Joe Bernier again.
I'll put those pictures everywhere.
Are we allowed to do some simple signage? Vote yes on this. Maybe make 100 signs up, put them around the neighborhood that'll get people talking and a direction on how we should vote.
Are you volunteering to take those around? I have a
I'll take
map
them around
of
and
all
buy
82 mailboxes in the community, Joe.
I'll take them around and I'll purchase them. And I just want to put them on every entry and exit corner. Simple signage. I just want to make sure they're not going to be taken up by the HOA.
Hello, I'm Candace Isherwood. I live right next door in Fairway Springs. We have private roads, but I am all for this. I want to tell you that because I've been over there north of us at night, and it's a nightmare. I almost hit a couple kids when I was over there. It's very dangerous, and it just doesn't look good. And we all know that. I think I'm preaching to the choir here. But what I'd like to know is if we could get a cutesy little handout and put it by our mailboxes, or we do have, in our development, we do have like a little, at every mailbox, we have a little bulletin board.
Yes.
If we could get something like that, I would be happy to make sure it happens.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I have one more thing that I want to mention about the publicity as far as...
The microphone, please.
Oh, as far as what's on the information that's put out to all the homeowners.
Yes.
Sometimes we've had some of our neighbors, when it's been like a whole page, get totally confused as to what they're voting for. So if you put this all out and then you say, if you want overnight parking, vote this way. If you don't want overnight parking, this is what you really,
That's
really
not clear.
I
okay.
wrote that yesterday.
Well, you're talking about upholding the current standards.
Yes.
That is not going to tell some of the people what you're trying to say.
I see. Okay, I thought I was watering it down.
Well,
but
I know what you're saying, but.
Yeah, I have done this job for a while, so. Amy, I'm just gonna do one. I'm Kathy Rach. I live in St. Andrews and apparently lately a lot of areas around it. So I want to just go back to one thing I thought that was very important that was tried to be discussed, and that is if on the ballot that we use for voting for the directors, and then we have this one, and apparently maybe the electron, whatever else is on it. But the state doesn't require an answer until June. So if all of that stuff comes out to us electronically or however, and whatever the percentage of the vote of all the 3,904 homes here isn't really tipping the iceberg, then I don't know legally, I just want to make sure we clarify that if we don't have enough percentage of the vote to go to the state and say, we don't want that parking, that we can continue the vote like we used to do when we tried to change the 75% of the vote. Right. You know what I'm saying? I do know what you're saying. Okay, so I just was hoping, even if it isn't tonight, but at some point we get that clarification that if those people, all of us that get it, to vote, and again, might not even have a clue why, no matter how we talk here, all of us, to any 2 to 5 or 8 people, and we don't get a good outcome, I want to make sure that we're not then prohibited from continuing that effort until the date of what the state mandates to give them.
I will work on
that. I will work on the
That's what Mr.
deadline.
Nielsen had said. And again, I look back 20 years, this community has always made quorum, sometimes closer some years than others, but we've always made the 1173 quorum. They're saying now with the new e-voting, we should expect a 20% more participation. So we're hoping for that. So, but we will look into all of these. Can we extend the date? Can we keep this open? So those are all great ideas. You're next, sorry.
Maria Jensen, Eagle Ridge. There have been a lot of good points about the parking at night. And I know that it means we have to specifically ask our evening guests or dinner guests to please park in our driveways if there's any question, or if 2-car families come at night, that they need to use our driveway, or ask a neighbor if it would be okay to get that, use another space on their driveway. But this is not just aesthetics. This is security. We left a neighborhood where the car parking increased, and the street was full. And with it came the break-ins, the crimes, and all of the problems. So it is so much more than aesthetics. By the time the night comes and there's it starts slowly, sprinkled cars down your street. You can't call any of them in, you can't report them. People are living in those cars, they know this is a great safe place to pull in at night. It grows, and we don't know when we look down the street what's good, what's not. Right now we do. So I will help put these on mailboxes. If you get flyers, I'll give you my number. It's that important because that makes our neighborhood safe just by simple glance.
Thank you. Anything else?
I can try to speak loud. But somebody just commented about extending the vote to whenever we feel like we got enough.
Just a minute.
But you're having a
You're having a vote, Ted Lifgren, Cypress Point. You're having a vote for directors. And it's going to be decided right then, or because you have a quorum or not. But another comment I just heard, if you have a quorum, but it doesn't go our way, and there's too much of a no vote, then we can extend this.
We don't
That
know
didn't.
We don't know that.
You don't know that, but
We're
you
gonna
it was
find out.
suggested.
Right.
So are you having a vote or not having a vote and having a cutoff date, or are you having 2 votes with 2 cutoff dates? So far, I don't know.
Well, we hadn't planned on extending it. We hadn't planned on extending it, but we've had it suggested twice. We will look into the legality of that. But again, if we make quorum that we have in 20 years, then if it is a majority, we're good. The most important thing that's said is we've got 60 days to get the word out. All of us, it's gonna be in the magazine, we're gonna be at clubs, we're gonna be at sub-association meetings. But we do need your help.
I talked to a lot of people, quite obviously, and I've only had one person object to this in the hundreds I've talked to. So I think that it will be accepted. I'm very optimistic, but it is a challenge, and you know, I have to mobilize myself to get to clubs and whatnot, and I will.
We have a question here.
This is Phyllis Pardall. I live in Shadow Ridge. I just wanted to bring one thing up. Sometimes people think you're voting and they get all upset about things. We're not voting to change our rules. We're simply voting to maintain control of our community. That's what we're voting for. And we don't want people to suddenly think because we're talking about all of this that we're going to change parking, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're simply trying to keep control of our community.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment.
My name is Jim Fondrick. I live in Scotland Hills. And my question is, if we're going to have flyers or if we're going to have posters that are up, who's going to be responsible for making those so they're consistent? And who's going to pay for those? So if we make up 50 posters, you're going to do it? And you'll design them so they're all consistent? Okay, all right. I was just confused.
Jennifer Stout, I live at Ponder's Place. We had a general manager's coffee meeting a few months back. No. This was a few months back when you brought in the police chief, 2 other police officers, the posse, and they were talking about the fentanyl use and crime and stuff that they also said at that time, these are public streets. The chief of police said this. These are public streets. You all can recommend in your guidelines that there be no street parking at night. But if you send me something saying, hey, you had a car there for 2 nights, I can get a lawyer and I can fight you and I will win because the city still owns the streets. Did he not say that?
That's not, if this passes, we retain the right for enforcement on public roadways.
Well, at that time when he said that was just a few months back. This was in effect by Governor Holt. It was in effect, so I'm just saying, I think what he said that day to us was...
It does not come into effect until June 30.
But right now, as it stands, you can give me a citation overnight, but I can fight you on that, and legally I will win, because these are city streets.
No.
That's what he said.
You signed your HOA document agreeing to these standards. And that's what we're trying to do is we're not changing anything. We're trying to uphold our current standards. Any other questions?
Just last comment here, Patrick Booners, Village Terrace 1. I like where Joe is going. I think I might ask or recommend everyone that agrees with Joe's approach and is prepared to either submit their time and effort or their resources. We can convene in the back of the room here and maybe get something actually started right here and now. And if at all possible, I wouldn't mind asking Karen to make sure that whatever we do kind of falls in the guide rails of what the HOA will allow, particularly whatever we're going to put on a poster or sign is complicit with HOA requirements.
Very, very correct.
It is important, and since this is involving a legal issue, we want to make sure that we do everything copacetically on that. Anything else? Okay, great. Some great feedback. Thank you all very much. At this point, I'm going to introduce Marcy Renaud. Marcy is going to talk to you about electronic voting.
Okay, so everybody should know, and if they don't, I'll let you know that the board did pass the October 2nd meeting that we will be doing electronic voting in the village. It was passed unanimously amongst the board members. Each property will receive their letter around mid-February with the instructions on the voting process. Many of you, I just want to make sure, I probably have already done this, but if you do not reside in the village as a permanent resident, that you make sure that the administrative office does have a valid address where you are receiving your mail at currently right now. So that way you make sure that you do get this information when it does come out. That letter is going to contain what we call a unique user code. It can also be known as a registration code on there. That code will be unique to every single property. They will not be matched, it will not be duplicated, it is only for that particular property. This year we'll have 3 matters that will be on the vote, as we discussed just now: the parking enforcement, the open board of directors positions, and ratification of the minutes from last year. So we will have 3 different options that you will be able to do. Electronic voting itself, which you'll be able to do from your computers, your smart devices. You can also phone in your vote, which is new and different this year. So if working with the computer or electronic devices is not in your wheelhouse, you have the option to call in and you can cast your vote over the phone with the third-party carrier. And you'll have your mail-in option. If you choose to have a ballot sent to you, you'll be able to do that. So first is the electronic voting. As I said, you will have the option to do this over your smart devices. There will be 2 reminder emails that will go out during that voting time, and those emails will also contain your code. So if for some reason you have misplaced your letter, you'll have that option to be able to get that through those emails. This next slide is a sample, per se, of electronic voting process, where it says, please enter your registration code. This is going to be that unique code to every single property. And then down below, open the ballot. Ours will look a little bit, each one looks a little bit different. We go ahead and we put that together based upon the topics that are at hand that we are going to be voting on.
Marcy, if I can intervene, this where it says view candidate biographies, that's where you will see 3 PDFs, candidate bios, last year's annual meeting minutes, as well as the information on the parking.
Yeah.
So all of that is going to be included electronically as well.
Okay. So the next slide, this is just showing a representation of the voting for a position. As we all know, here in Westbrook, we have cumulative voting. And for those that may not know that, cumulative voting means that you have the number of votes for the number of open positions. So in this case, this year, we have 3 votes that every household will get. You may choose to do that voting however you wish. It can be for a candidate, it could be one for 3 candidates, or however you want to split it. The program and software will allow you to do that. This particular sample is not shown in the cumulative voting sense, so that's why it looks a little bit different, but you will have that option to be able to do that. So the next slide is an active transport society. So basically what this is showing you is if your household has already voted, or your property has already voted, and somebody else attempts to go and do that, they are going to get a notification that says, your code has already been used for voting. You will also be told that the same as if you go and request a ballot via mail through the third-party carrier, and or if you attempt to vote by phone. They will already know the information that that particular resident has already casted their vote. Unfortunately, if that happens and you don't think you did, you may want to speak with your spouse about that. All right, phone in. So you will get an 800 number that will be also contained in that explanation letter that's going to come, and you will be able to call in if that's an avenue that you feel more comfortable with. This will be through the third-party carrier that will be doing it. This is an additional way to vote, and the third-party company has found that this option has actually helped to increase the voter turnout. You will still need to have that code that you're going to be given in that that letter, so you still need to have that unique code for the particular properties. And then the last option is the mail-in voting. So if you like old school, like we've been doing, and you feel more comfortable in actually casting your ballot vote by writing it in and mailing it back to the third-party carrier, you may call and opt in, and they will send that out to you. Keep in mind that there will be a deadline to return your ballot, and if you are concerned that it was not received in that time frame, there will still be the option of voting at our annual meeting as we've always had. So that option is not going away. You still are able to come to the annual meeting and vote in person if you would like to do that. So just a few things to know. 1 ballot per property. Do not vote until you're confident in your choice. You cannot go back and change that vote. No votes will be accepted at the administrative office nor the rec centers. So you have to either do it electronically, mail it directly to the third party, or to cast your vote over the phone. In addition to the printed information in the magazine, the e-blast, and through the voting company, you can pick up handouts at the rec centers for the bios and also for the minutes, and I think potentially now the information with regards to the parking. That will all be available to pick that up. So, then just one other thing, remember that this is being recorded this evening, so if you would like to tell me, that will go out onto the website. If you have questions or you want your neighbors to be able to see this, let them know that they can see tonight's thing. So I open it up to questions. Okay, microphone on its way.
All right, go ahead.
Jenny Dubois, I live in Hidden Palms. We have, our address on file is our Wisconsin address.
Okay.
And we have a lot of trouble getting our mail sent to us from Wisconsin. If I never receive the initial letter with my identification code, and I come that night, can I vote without that identification code?
We would rather you didn't. We would rather that if you don't receive it, in the e-blast, it'll say they're in the mail. If you don't receive it in the week, walk over to the admin office and we will get in contact with the third party and they will issue one to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a quick question as relates to the parking issue. When will this voting begin?
When we send out the ballot, so when basically when the letter goes out, it will tell you when open voting will begin, and that's when this issue will, all the issues will be out in front of everybody.
Which will be sometime early or mid-February?
We normally mail the ballots out and notify the residents right after candidates' forums. There's 2 of them this year, so it would come out shortly after that. Mid-February.
Typically, it's open for 2 weeks. We're gonna open it for 30 days this year.
So that
We're
means,
doubling the time.
yeah, that means instead of 60 days to get the word out about the parking, you might only have 30 days for a lot of people who vote when they get their ballot. So,
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the third party, who they are and what their name and,
Okay. It's Vote,
qualifications?
it's a company called Vote Now, and they have been in business for many years. They are actually used by 3 of our sister communities. Sun City West, I know for sure off the top of my head, uses them. They have, we actually took this out to bid, and we got 4 different bids back. This particular company we found had been fit all the boxes for what we were trying to do. And they are out of Florida, and they are very receptive to answering our questions, setting this up so that it works perfect for us. We can have multiple things that we can vote on at one time so that we can keep that. The cost of doing this is not very much more than it normally is in our budgeted amount, so that was a good thing also, considering that our budgeted amount included some wonderful volunteers in our community. So we're getting, I think, a really great deal for the fact that somebody else is doing it and not having to have all the volunteers participating in doing that. And with the niceness with the third party, then it's not being handled at all by the administration. This is being handled by somebody else. Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name's Sally Klein, St. Andrew's Place. Could you flip to the very first page of electronic voting? I'm sorry.
That way?
No, the one
That way.
that said you press here, it talks.
Oh, the actual.
The first, yeah, okay. So I was sitting back here reading it, and I'm going, view the candidates' bios. Gosh, I have them memorized by now. So I thought, my whole thing was, I'm not gonna press on that. I don't need that. I need to know what else is succinct and important.
Right.
So can we change that? Because you have to press on that, you just said, to get everything else.
No. There'll be separate PDFs.
Underneath that, though.
Yeah, for each of the different parts of the voting. So you do not have to click on any of that if you don't. If you go in and you've already been, given all the information and you totally know what you want to do, you can just go right in and vote. It's if you feel I need additional information, I'm not quite remembering, I'm weighing myself back and forth between 2 things, then you have that information contained within there. But it is not a requirement to touch the PDFs to actually do your voting.
So how do I ascertain the voting? No. So the front page, how do I get off the front page?
Open the ballot.
I understand that. Okay.
When you hit open the ballot, which is what it's pointing to, there's your
That
ballot.
takes you there.
It'll
Okay.
take you to how our ballot will be formulated. This is not our ballot, this is just a sample. But yes, it'll take you directly to our ballot.
Thanks.
You bet.
Laura Blauvelt, Eagle Ridge. Go back one. And I'm assuming that it's not just gonna say candidate's biography, that you will have it say potentially candidate's biography / parking / minutes, so that everyone would know what is actually within that PDF.
Right, it'll be actually separate PDFs for it, so that we.
So there'll be separate lines?
That's our request to
Okay.
them, so that it's specific, because the way we need to do the ballot is we need to call out and have it very separated for
Right.
the parking issue. And then, so we're going to make sure that we're doing everything the way we need to be able to have this be a valid vote.
Right, I just misunderstood that it would be 3 separate line PDFs. I thought you were just gonna open that and there would be 3 PDFs within that. So I apologize.
Yeah, no, we're gonna make sure it's out there so that it's very understandable.
Hi, Sherry McGee, Shadow Ridge. Am I correct in assuming on the night of the annual meeting, you are still gonna have a list of all the people that have already voted?
That, yes, so the third-party company, when we close out the actual mail-in ballot and everything, they will give us access so that we will know exactly who has not voted, the same as we always have at the annual meeting. So that way then, if you're questioning if your ballot did make it there on time, you know, because you ended up mailing it, we will know that did or did not, so we can be able to check that off, yeah.
I'm asking because in the past I had turned it in at the office like 2 weeks before the annual meeting and they never got counted. So I was able to vote at the annual meeting, but it's nice.
Yeah, there will be a list so that we will know which residents had not voted.
Correct. Thank you.
You bet.
Lynette Jones, Fairway Springs. So up here on the screen, the top, under login to the ballot system, it says, please enter your registration code. And then down below that it says, do not have a voter code. Are those one and the same, a registration code and a voter code?
In theory, yes. We're calling it a unique user code, but it's a registration code, and it's saying if you don't have that, then you can request to have it resent to you.
Right, so it might be nice to call it the same thing in both places.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. Just saying. And then my other question is, one more time, so you have, if you're doing it electronically, you get a unique user ID, right? And that's a unique user ID per property.
Correct.
And then each property can have 3 votes, right?
For the board of directors, yes.
Okay. Then if you are starting to do that, and you get confused and you decide to switch over to the phone system, for example, then do you get, because the phone system starts the same way with a unique number, is it the same unique number?
It is. The unique number is for that property, whether you vote by electronic, whether you call in and request the ballot and or vote over the phone. That number is for that property. Okay. And it's the same, doesn't matter, however you do it.
Okay, good answer.
Did the mail-in go to Florida?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Mail-in goes to Florida.
So you said that we get a vote per property.
Yes.
But when we vote for the street parking issue, do we get 2 votes or do we get 1?
No,
It's 1 per property.
Correct, pursuant to our
So
documents.
if you disagree with your spouse, that's your own issue.
That's correct. Do not bring it here.
Marcy, right over here.
Yes.
Nancy Millard, Oakmont Heights. So you're going to have in-person voting at the annual meeting, correct?
That is correct.
Are you going to have proctors for those voters?
If a candidate requests to have a proctor, they need to do the same process to request it in writing, and they may have a proctor at that, at the annual meeting night, yes.
Is there a deadline for getting that to, and who does the candidate give that information to?
So that'll be the typical correspondence that we give out. We give a deadline to notify the HOA of a proctor. It's usually 7 days before the meeting. And that comes through the candidate.
Thank you.
Oh, proxy?
Did you say there was going to be a PDF for the parking issue also, or just the candidates?
No, for all 3 things. So you have to have the minutes themselves, then the candidates, and the parking issue. Yep, there will be.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Donna, Country Club Estates. I think
our Country Club Estates announcement of our annual meeting and our votes, that it included the parking issue and the vote for our Country Club Estates officers, implying that we were authorizing Country Club Estates to enforce parking. But I don't hear any other discussion of individual neighborhoods enforcing parking. So was that a mistake that they included that as part of the neighborhood's HOA?
No, because your sub-association documents can be stricter than the master HOA, but not any looser. So that's all that the master HOA can say. As Amy said in her presentation, we're telling the sub-associations to get with your property manager and or your association attorney to make sure you're following the exact guidelines like we are.
Okay, so I need to look at the standards for both Westbrook Village and Country Club Estates to know what I'm agreeing to have them enforce.
But be sure you vote in our election. Don't substitute your sub-association vote for this election.
Yeah, I think that's an important clarification, that we will be voting both at our neighborhood association and at Westbrook Village.
And that's never changed. We're not changing any of our voting techniques or procedure. Yes, we're changing electronically, but none of that changes from a sub-association to the master association.
Okay.
And I want to encourage people, if it passes in the master association and it's under our umbrella, we're still going to enforce on it. If everybody votes yes and it passes by a majority, we're going to still enforce. We don't get into the sub-associations maybe as frequently as your property manager does. So we're encouraging everybody to retain the abilities that Westbrook Village has. And in order to do that, it's a yes vote.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
We'll see you back here Monday night. If you haven't gotten enough of this fun, it's our first candidates forum, Monday, February 3rd, 7 p.m. here at the Lakes Ballroom. Thank you for coming out.